My name is Kai Kale. I used to be a ranger, stationed in Sector Gamma of the Appalachian National Preserve. Key phrase, used to be. This recording is my last professional log. If anyone finds this, and I genuinely hope no one does, you need to understand that the official map is a lie. The park borders are compromised, and the threats listed in the Ranger Manual a child's play compared to what's waiting in the shadows. My shift started routine enough 4 days ago. Solo patrol deep into the area officially designated as the Still. It's an area named not for its peacefulness, but for the abnormal lack of noise. No birds, no insects, no wind rustling the canopy. It's sound dampened, unnerving, like stepping into a sterile operating room that stretches for miles. My mission was simple: locate and confirm the status of 3 automated Sentinel cameras, SC4, SC5, and SC6, that had inexplicably dropped their audio feeds simultaneously. The video feeds were fine, crystal clear, showing only dense woodland, but the audio was flatlining, a constant 0-decibel silence. Our system flagged them as quiet zones. I reached the site of SC4 around noon. The camera was mounted high on an ancient oak, humming gently with its battery pack. The video was transmitting perfectly. I ran a diagnostic on the microphone. The mic wasn't broken. It was meticulously and surgically disassembled. The delicate diaphragm was peeled back, its wires severed with precision that no animal or clumsy human could achieve. It was the work of someone with unsettling patience and focus. I radioed HQ. I told them about the surgical sabotage. The response from my supervisor, Agent Delmont, was dismissive. Probably some kids, Kale. Tag it for repair and proceed to SC5. But I knew this wasn't kids. The Still was too deep, too remote, and the damage felt intentional, almost message-like. I continued toward SC5, the silence of the woods pressing down on my eardrums. I started developing auditory hallucinations, the low, constant, irritating hiss of white noise that wasn't there. My mind was manufacturing sound to fill the unnatural void. When I reached SC5, the pattern repeated but intensified. The microphone wasn't just disassembled. The entire metal housing had been peeled back like skin from bone. And next to the camera, etched on the bark of a centuries-old redwood, was a symbol. It was a jagged, crudely drawn circle. But inside the circle, instead of a line or a dot, there was a perfect void, a patch of bark that seemed to absorb all light around it. It felt less like vandalism and more like a cosmic signature, a sign that this was not a place, but a boundary. I pulled out my phone and took a photograph of the symbol, noting its coordinates. As I did, I noticed something in the peripheral vision of the camera feed, a sliver of charcoal gray at the edge of the frame, standing unnervingly still. I froze, heart pounding. I looked up at the physical camera. Nothing, just the vast, empty woods. I checked the live feed again. The charcoal sliver was gone. My rational brain screamed, pareidolia, shadow trickery, but the silence felt like a heavy, conscious presence watching me. It was too quiet. The area was actively nullified. I hurried toward SC6, driven by a growing, dreadful certainty. Whatever was here, it wasn't just destroying sound, it was observing the observers. It had seen me looking at the feed. It had registered my presence. SC6 was the end point of my patrol.
located near an old, unused geological survey station from the 1940s. The station was a small, rusted shed, half sunk into the marshy ground. The air here wasn't just silent, it felt pressurized, like the air before a lightning strike. I approached SC6, and this time the camera was untouched. The microphone was intact. The video feed was live. But the audio was transmitting. It wasn't the sound of the woods, but a single, rhythmic, deep, unsettling thud. 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 It was the sound of a massive, impossibly heavy object hitting the earth at regular intervals. It wasn't loud, but it was enormous, vibrating through the ground and into my boots. My mic picked it up clearly. I radioed Delmont, my voice shaking. "I have a live audio feed, sir. It's a seismic event, massive, cyclical thudding." Delmont's voice crackled, laced with impatience. "Cale, our seismic monitoring shows zero activity in your sector. It's a malfunction. Get out of there." "Sir, this isn't a malfunction. I can feel it." I crouched down, touching the marshy ground. The thudding stopped instantly. Silence. I stood up. Thud. It resumed. It only occurred when I wasn't in direct physical contact with the ground. It was an impossible sound. It was the sound of something too big to exist, trying to move without being heard. I turned the camera feed on my handheld device. I zoomed in on the survey shed. The shed was old, but next to it, partially obscured by dead foliage, was a set of new, enormous, and unnervingly regular footprints. They were flat, circular, and deep, easily 3 feet in diameter. They led directly from the deep woods to the side of the shed. I approached the shed, my rifle held steady. I pushed the rusted door open. Inside, the single-room shed was filled with dust and old, useless surveying equipment. And one thing that wasn't useless, a massive, heavy-duty logbook open on a desk. The logbook was dated 1947. The last entry was written in frantic, almost illegible handwriting. October 19th, 1947. "The sound has returned. It's below the water table. The color is spreading. They are taking the quiet ones. They use the silence to mask their true presence. We saw the shape. It stands still. It cannot be registered by the eye if it is perfectly motionless. It feeds on our observation." Below the text was a chilling, almost exact reproduction of the symbol I saw etched on the tree at SC5, the crude circle with the perfect void in the middle. I looked back at the live feed from SC6 on my device. The camera was still running, and now the charcoal figure, the one from the peripheral vision, was standing directly in front of the lens. It was tall, thin, and entirely without features. It was just a black void in the shape of a man, absorbing the light. It had mastered the art of standing so incredibly still that the camera's autofocus couldn't lock onto it. And its head was tilted slightly, unnaturally, as if it were looking not at the camera, but through the camera, directly at my device screen. It saw me, reading the logbook. I dropped my device. It clattered to the ground, the live feed facing upwards. The figure was on the screen, looking up at me, the observer. The rhythmic thud, thud returned, now loud enough to make the shed floor vibrate. It was no longer trying to hide the sound. It was announcing its presence. I scrambled out of the shed, leaving the logbook and my device. I had broken the cardinal rule. I acknowledged the USN's existence, and I had confirmed its method of operation. It was a cosmic entity that used the lack of sensory input, the silence, to infiltrate our reality, and it used observation to gain substance. I ran back toward the main road, ignoring the compass. The forest was no longer silent. It was filled with the rhythmic, deep, terrifying thud that felt both distant and near. I looked up, and through the canopy I saw the source of the color mentioned in the logbook. It wasn't light. It was a blotch of hue hanging above the trees, a purple-pink, iridescent, impossible shade that had no place in the visible spectrum. It looked like a bruise